I got a bio on 2 of them, so I'll let the other 2. The 2 that I have Andy's bio and I have John's bio. So I'll pretend like I'm like the Discovery Channel narrator here. I have some like dramatic music. Andy McFarland has been investing in real estate since early 2003 and full-time since 2006. Wearing jersey number 9, just kidding. Andy's bought real estate from almost every channel. Short sales, HUD Homes, REO, at auctions and trustee sales, and especially from private sellers. I think he and I share that common addiction to private sellers. Andy currently is a wholesaler, retail flipper, private money lender, and a landlord. In 2013, so far, Andy has done 25 wholesale deals, 10 flips, 7 loans, and purchased 4 rental properties. He enjoys helping other serious investors reach their goals. And our ice cream truck thing was awesome that you talked about last night. Didn't do it, but I talked to Jen at the title company. She's like, Andy did that? I said, yeah. She goes, he let us think the agent did it. I was like, well, that's Andy, the guy behind the guy, right? So that's Andy. Andy's on the panel line. Give it a round of applause for Andy. And for those of you that don't know John, raise your hand, John. John is honestly one of the favorite guys. I don't see him that often at the club. I wish he came more often, but he's probably busy saving money on his rental properties. Honestly, this guy's fantastic. John purchased his first duplex in 1978 and eventually had ownership in 60 multifamily rental units. He currently owns and manages 18 single-family homes. John can answer any question you have about buy and hold strategy, dealing with tenants, maximizing your cash flow, and how to save a buck or use the system to your advantage. And honestly, if you guys have not heard John speak before, the guy's a wealth of information. He has the websites, he has all these coupons, and he's a DIYer to the max. So John Jonkman's up here. So I didn't get one from Matt or Justin. Let me tell you what I know about Matt. Then I'll let Matt give you a little overview. Matt is a full-time mortgage broker. And from the last time I heard him talk, he says his number last year was about 111 loans closed. See, I remember. Okay? So if he's full-time in the mortgage business, he'll tell you that he's the best lender he knows. And probably he'll tell you that he's the best lender on the planet. That's just who Matt is, right? That's just the way it is. He's got confidence. He also is a landlord. He's been on a rip trying to just acquire your 50th rental. So Matt will tell you, and I've heard him say that now he could quit working if he wanted to and be fine, but he hasn't found anything as fun as doing loans or doing real estate. Am I getting close? Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
I love my wife.
Okay, he loves his wife. Matt is up here as a lending specialist on the panel. Justin Kuchar. Justin is a powerhouse in marketing. I've seen you speak before here. I like what you said. He also basically, again, I'm paraphrasing, so if I say something wrong here, he gets you to take action, or he points out why you're not taking action. I think you're very sought after as a private coach and mentor, am I right? Travel all over the nation for helping people out. I'm going to give the mic to Justin because I don't want to butcher anything else. What I want you to do, Justin, is tell people what they can ask of you with the panel tonight that you're special.
I've invested, I guess, in a wide range of methods. I would say one of my favorites is the pre-foreclosure or the short sale. I've probably been doing that long before it was ever popular or trendy to do it here. It's just my investment method of choice. We trained a lot of agents in the Valley how to do them, so that's probably my favorite method. But I've bought at auction, done the probate, subject to anything you can probably think of. So I hold rentals and long-term rentals, but I prefer to flip, and I like to do the short-term stuff. So
fantastic. Pass the mic to Randall. Randall Wall, president of Solaria. You guys know Randall is a broker, equity real estate. He's done hundreds of rehabs. He's run the bus tour last year. You running it again this year?
We are running it this year.
And I'll let him take it away and kind of tell you what his experience level is.
Let's see. I did my first deal back in the 80s. I got out of the Army. I was really excited. I had bought a book at a garage sale for 50 cents. It was how I turned $1,000 into $10 million in real estate. And so it was a pretty good book. And it was about the only thing out there that was real estate related. Unfortunately, the market tanked and he lost $20 million, but I was hooked because I thought, oh, I got $1,000, I can make $10 million. So I did my first deal. I lost $50,000 on my first rehab. I rehabbed it from this sewer to the roof line and did everything in between. And I did it in Glendale. So it was Utah, Glendale, Utah.
What's so bad in Glendale, California?
Yeah, Glendale, California is really good, but no, it was Glendale, Utah. It was right on the river, the Jordan River, and being from Oregon, riverfront property is always worth it, right? It's awesome. So I went in, and the realtor saw me coming. I've got this great fix here. It's on the river, and I was really excited. I actually did see a beaver once. That was kind of nice, being from Oregon. But anyway, lost a chunk of money on that. The only thing that saved me is I was really greedy, and I was doing two at the same time. And so the second one, I closed the first one, lost 50 grand. The second one, I made $138,000 on. That's the only reason that I'm probably still here today. I'm still doing it. I think I stopped counting at 300 rehabs over, 3-4 years ago. I've done rehabs. I've mentored people a lot in Europe in the last 5 years, from coast to coast on different real estate items. I've trained agents. I've written for magazines. I'm pretty much a real estate junkie, and I like doing it, and I like people, and this is the best club that I've ever been to. It's got the lowest fees, I think. So everybody else that has lower fees than we do? I don't think so.
Well, you're the only one.
You're the only one. We're the only one left.
You guys have all rights to survive it.
There was 5 or 6 that were here before the downturn, but I just believe that anybody can do this business. So we've got here is we sent out some questions. So we've got some questions here. Sean's going to take them.
Here's what we're going to do, guys. We put the panel up here. You got a really good response at our December meeting to ask questions of the panel. We handed out these cards. If you didn't get one, raise your hand. Curtis is right there. He'll hand you a card. Emily's up in the front. Raise your hand if you need a card. And what it says is, the 2 is for the speaker you want to ask. So Matt's here. You have John. You have Andy, Justin, or Randall. And we gave a space there for you to write your question down. And then at the bottom, you can put your name or your email address. And what we're going to do is you'll run them down to me. I'll ask the question, and then I'll hand the mic to the person you asked the question of. That way we're not going to hear, what did he say, what, right? I'll ask the question, they'll answer it, and then you'll have your name and your email address, and if you need a more detailed answer, the speaker, if they choose, can email you because they'll have your name. That way you can get your answer. Does that make sense?
Sean, one thing we ought to mention is that this is a chance to get some great information free.
Right?
We charge between $500 and $1,000 an hour for in-depth mentoring.
This is not the chance for the time for you to be shy, all right? Ask your question. And if you want it to be anonymous, just don't put your name on the card, right? We'll be fine. And if you guys, I'll get it started so you guys can see. I want to ask these guys questions. It's rare. I get all these guys assembled in one place at one time to ask these questions. Does that make sense? Yes?
Can we ask more questions to multiple?
Of course you can. You can say open. You can say all. You can put all. Question to all. Right? We're going to try to get this going. We're going to try to use as much time as we can. Get the answers that you guys want answered. Jason is recording it. And if you guys are members, what's one of the benefits of being a member of Sloria? You guys get to watch these videos and re-watch the content. Is that a good thing for $99 a year? It's pretty good. Matt's chuckling, but that's what you do, right? Make sense? Okay. All right, so Matt, I'm going to ask Matt the first question. Matt, as a lender, and most of the stuff that a lot of us are selling right now is FHA. You guys agree with that? FHA buyers? I keep hearing that they're going to be requiring mortgage insurance to be on all loans going forward after the middle of June, and there's no wiggle room on that. Can you confirm or deny that change happening in FHA loans?
It's true. If you pull an FHA case number after June 1st, if you obtain FHA financing, you have mortgage insurance forever on a 30-year fixed loan. If you happen to get an FHA loan on a 15-year loan, which most people don't do, and put 20% down under extenuating circumstances, there is a waiver long-term.
How is that going to affect an FHA buyer's ability to qualify? Good, bad, or is it just right in the middle?
let's take a poll. By raise of hands, who's ever obtained an FHA loan before on their house? Keep your hands up. So those that are sitting at the top have an advantage. If you've kept the property for FHA for more than a year, keep your hand up. More than 2 years, more than 3 years, more than 4 years, more than 5 years. So you still have an FHA loan on it? More than 6 years? All right, anyone's hand still up? So what you'll see is most people all put their hands down after 6 years, right? So as equity goes up, you'll see that you'll probably refinance to a conventional loan, or you'll cash out, or you could get a VA loan. So the reason why they want to have insurance beyond there forever is they're taking a bloodbath on their foreclosures, because you only have to put 3.5% down, which is really minimal, or you can get 100% financing, which the borrower has no skin in the game. So they just want to make sure, hey, if you are a higher risk borrower, we want you to own a home, we just want you to pay a little bit extra to bank that money.
Okay. Is that helpful? That's this is what I'm interested in, because I hear these things. Raise your hand if you've got a card, got a question written down. Emily, can you grab me in the front? Kurt's right there. Em's right here. Jed Bowen has a card question. Okay, my next question, let's go right behind for John. John, you been? Sure.
I would, Randall, what's your hourly? 1,000? Justin, what's yours? I'll say Justin's 250. Andy? What am I willing to pay? 500? John, what's yours?
How much you got?
500. Here's the whole point. I came tonight, even if I wasn't on the board, this is probably the most beneficial meeting for me all year. So I would encourage you to get a notepad and a paper and write a crap load of notes and ask as many questions so you guys can learn. So this, I didn't go to the RSL game to go to this.
Perfect. My question is for John. John, you've been a landlord for a number of years. You self-manage your properties, correct? Have you seen rents increase, stay the same, or decrease over the entire time you've owned rentals? This is not a trick question.
Well, rents have gone up substantially. I remember renting out 2-bedroom units for $175. These were fixer-uppers in empty buildings, and we just wanted to get people in there so that, you know, others wouldn't come and steal our stuff. That's, but now the same units, because I have a mortgage on one of them still, it's a private lender, and the same units are renting out for $695.
Let me ask you this. What did a unit cost for you to buy and then rent for $175?
I bought 4 plexes for $32,000 in the 70s when the market went really low.
You bought a 4-plex for $32,000 and rented it for $175 a door.
For the first couple of months until we got them fixed up, and then the rent was $375 or $400 a month. This was in the 80s when the market was really low, as has been in the last few years.
Now let me ask you this. When was the last time you bought a rental unit?
It was many years ago. I don't remember the last time. I'm just holding them now until the market goes up. I'm in the process now of fixing up my properties. I'm going through each one of my properties, and I think the market is going to go up some more, and so I'm going to need to sell the passage. And I might even hire an inspector beforehand so that when I list the property for sale, it will already have passed an inspection and it will help the buyers.
Awesome.
I asked that question because 2 years ago I bought a duplex for $30,000, and they have rents for $700 a side. So prices go up and down and up and down, but if you track rent lines, they just go up and up and up. And John will tell you, the same unit he was getting $175 for back in the day is how much now?
$675.
$675. Would you like to have that kind of increase in your cash flow? It does happen. Hey, we got another card. All right, good. I'm glad you guys aren't being shy. I have some cards and I have some questions, guys. So I'm gonna address who it's open to, and then I'm gonna hand you the mic, and we're gonna roll from there. Does that sound all right, gang? All right, this is to Justin, and then follow on from everybody else. Justin, what techniques have you used to create a positive environment in your work and maintain that positive environment? And that's from Lorraine.
Show up every day. I like to surround myself. I worked out of my house for about a year, And I discovered I did not like that. I like to be around like-minded individuals. I like to be around people that business is happening. I like competition. I like to compete. I like to see when my friends, my coworkers, people are making money. It inspires me. It makes me want to beat them, make more money than they're making. So I like to share in their successes. I like to learn from their experiences, but I'm not here to recreate the wheel. I'm not here to lose large amounts of money, but a lot of my friends and fellow investors have. So I like to interrogate them and see what lessons they've learned, and that more often than not helps me to avoid a lot of those potholes and those mistakes that are commonly made. So the other thing I would say is you've got to keep educating yourself. You get stuck in a rut, you do the same thing over and over, you kind of become a little bit insane. You've got to keep refreshing yourself. So even though your time is valuable, you've got to come to these types of meetings. This is virtually free. And you're ignorant if you're not really scheduling yourself to come to education and things like that.
Anybody else want to take a follow-up on that, Andy?
I want to second what he said two things. One, continue to educate yourself. I don't really watch TV, and I read a lot and listen to a lot of things. Just today I was re-listening to a Tony Robbins book while I was in the gym, and I'm reading 3 books right now, but one of them is by Nick Vujicic. Anybody seen him before? No arms, no legs. He's not a real estate investor, but I mean, if he's the guy with no arms and no legs and a little paddle folk can do all the things he does, stuff like that's inspiration, right? So the other question was, how do you keep a positive environment? I think the golden rule, right? Treat people how you would like to be treated. This is just, man, I keep saying, real estate's a game. More and more money and all this stuff. Look, at the end of the day, it's how you treat people, and if you follow the golden rule and do unto others as they have doing to you, you're going to be more successful, they're going to be more successful, and it's more fun because people that kick people on the way up, it's not worth it. You can have the pile of gold at the end, but if you don't have any friends, anybody around you, it's just not worth it.
Another thing is, if people are working for you and doing things to help you get ahead. I remember when I was in college and I kind of helped own this carpet cleaning business. My partner, he was the senior guy. He bought me lunch every time I worked with him. And that really created a thing, hey, yeah, it's a $7 meal, who cares? So when my guys are working, I try to bring them drinks, I try to bring them meals, and maybe it's not a big deal, but it kind of helps them, feel important. And I really do appreciate their work because those details that they do help me make a lot more to, feed my family and increase my bottom line too.
If you want to put yourself in the top 10% of anything in any field, you need to attend at least one seminar a year. There have been a number of studies that have been done by Harvard, Stanford, and a bunch of private companies that specialize in marketing for sales individuals. And they say that the individual that gets the top 10% attends at least one seminar per year in their field of interest, I guess it is. So it might be a real estate one, it might vary for real estate agents or anybody else for a real estate investor. But you'll catapult yourself in the top 10% if you attend at least one seminar per year.
You guys good? John, how do you keep a positive attitude?
I'd like to, positive environment.
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Yeah, how do you maintain a positive environment to work in?
From a landlord's perspective, I have two rules, golden rules, so to speak. And one is happy tenants are profitable tenants. And the second one is if it's important to them, it's important to me. One example was this past Monday morning. I had my list of things to do. I was going to work on a house in Kearns, repair some siding, and I had an appointment with the tenants. They left the gate open or locked for me to get in the backyard. And as I was on my way there, I got a call from my tenant in Rose Park that said our swamp cooler went out. It's blowing, but only blowing hot air. I said, I'll be right there. So as I went and worked on that swamp cooler, I got a call from a tenant in Magna. My swamp cooler went out. It's 97 degrees and we're frying in the house. So I got done in Rose Park with replacing the pump. I went straight to Magna and did that. I never got to do the siding. I sent the tenant a text message that says I'll come some other time, probably next week sometime. But my tenants stayed with me for a long time. I've had tenants that have been in my houses since I bought them 7, 8, 9 years ago. I can't remember last time someone moved out. Last time someone moved out was a little house in Glendale, right along the river. It is. It was on the railroad track when I bought it, and then Union Pacific started running the trains again. But now it's a bicycle path, and it's really nice. It's right at 900 south, 1500
Now,
west.
there's that rent, John.
But yeah, I should. But the tenant moved out because he bought a house, and he said, "But my friend wants to move in. She's been over here for the last 6 months, and she keeps telling me, if you ever move, I want to move in." So he moved out on Saturday. She moved out, and she moved in on Sunday. Between the two, they took care of the cleaning and kept the rent the same because it was reasonable, and so no vacancy. And I can't remember the last time I had a vacancy because my tenants stayed with me. And that's how I create a positive environment. I get along with everyone. I show up at their homes, and they give me cookies and coffee or whatever they want. So we're kind of like family. And that's how I maintain a positive environment within my business.
I eat too many cookies or donuts. That got me.
All right, next question. This is addressed to everybody. I'm going to start with Matt since he's closest to me. How's that? What is the most effective marketing you've done for buying/finding deals, particularly for wholesale flip opportunities?
Sloria.
How do you use Slurria then? Not to let you away with just one acronym.
There's 85 to 90 people here today, so I'll give a quick example. How many people are looking to buy a house in the next 30 days? Okay, look, how many of those have cash they could lend out to a deal on a real estate venture? Who's looking to refinance the house? Rates are up. The whole point, I just gave 3 examples, right? So this is an unbelievable opportunity to network with 85 to 90 people. The more opportunities you can get exposure to work with them, the deals will just come to you. So that's why I said Sloria.
Perfect. Wholesale flip marketing. Andy, you want to take a crack at that one? What's the most effective marketing?
I heard it from Dan Kennedy, so I don't know if he coined the phrase, but I can't tell you one way to get 100 deals, but I can tell you 100 ways to get 1 deal. So everything works. He does networking. You can send mailers. You can do internet. You can do signs. Does it work? Yeah. Do you work?
I got one of Andy's mailers, by the way, the slot machine one.
What did you think of
I
that?
put it on Facebook, man. It was awesome.
My cards are on the table.
Awesome.
I like to do things other people are probably too lazy to do, so I've been knocking doors lately. It's worked out for me, and I like to do direct mail. I think direct mail is kind of passive, and actually hitting doors is pretty aggressive.
What's your success rate on Orlando?
Virtually every time I go out, maybe it's only a 2 or 3 hour window, I get an appointment. And I probably close in 90%.
I think what Justin is saying is correct. Are you an agent as well? So you're an agent as well. 3% of all real estate agents will knock doors, that's it. If you close 12 transactions a year, you're in the top 10% of agents nationwide. It's not very much. During the worst part of the market, I think I closed 50, in addition to all the other endeavors. But if you'll knock doors and do what other people are not willing to do, it'll make a difference. We've been knocking around Olympus, and every time we go out, pretty much it's we're picking up a property.
Can I ask a question about door knocking?
Sure.
When you guys go out and knock doors, if you're doing it for an investment purpose, are you just going to homes that look like it'd be a good investment, or are you going to every door in the neighborhood and saying, who do you know, this, that, and the other?
Basically, when I go or I send my guys out, what we do is we do what's called a two-for script. We go up there and we say, we're looking to buy properties here in this neighborhood. If it's my agents, I've got a buyer who's looking to buy a property here, you don't have to pay a real estate commission. I'm representing him. And then we say, who do you know among your neighbors, friends, people at church or work that are looking to looking to sell a property in the next 60 days? And I time it. Basically, what I'm trying to do is run them down a mental hallway, the front door, the work door, the church door, get them to open that up and see who's there. we've actually had probably 10 transactions have come by asking that question, so it's kind of like you're getting the 2 for 1. The people that cater meals say that everybody knows at least 250 people. So if you're at a wedding, 250 for the groom, 250 for the bride. Some people have a lot more friends than that, but on average it's 250 people, so I try to leverage that 250 people.
If you're out knocking doors and you knock on a door and they say, yeah, I'm interested in selling, do you have some kind of paperwork that you just fill out right there, or do you come back with paperwork, or how do you actually put it in paper?
Well, it's kind of like kissing a girl. I haven't heard that one before. Please, explain. Everybody get your notepads out.
I mean, you remember when you were a young guy and you're out there dating, it wasn't like you'd ask her and say, all right, then I'm going to set it up. How about if I kissed you? I'm ready.
Please don't make eye contact with me anymore.
Put me on your do not call list.
I'm ready. Go out ready. So if you're going to do a deal, take your paperwork with you. Take an iPad with you that's got your paperwork on it. I've done it with a note on toilet paper before, but it really is nice if you can look professional and make a deal right then and there.
I'm going to take a little bit of license here. You know why Justin has such a high close rate when he knocks doors? Justin is of probably the top 5% of guys I've met that expect to get his fair share of deals. When you go out to knock doors and you expect to win your share, there's nothing that person can tell you. Even if you have to say, listen, meet me Monday morning at escrow, we'll have everything done and ready for you to sign, they're going to do it because you go out expecting. So the way you pick your neighborhood is not as important as the attitude that you have when you knock that door. I will tell you, you do need to have a thick skin to knock doors. Please don't think that if you leave here and you commit to knocking doors that you're going to be a wild success. You're going to get knocked off that horse at least a few times. But if you're willing to commit to it and believe that you guys can go out there, honestly, you'll get them. Because you're out there, like, what do you say, hey look, I'm looking to buy a house, or I got a buyer that's going to buy your house. As long as you're honest with them, you're going to get your fair share of deals. And I've never ever bought a house from anybody that didn't really want to sell it. So you can't make them sell you the house. Real estate's not a point of sale transaction. How many of you guys pumped gas this week in your car? Did you negotiate with the pump attendant on how much you were going to pay for the gallon of gas? Nope. That was the price. You pumped it, you got it done, and you left. It doesn't work with real estate. How many of you guys ever paid the sticker price for real estate? Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You might say you're going to, but then you got inspections and appraisals, and it's a way for you to come back and nibble down on that price, okay? Because real estate doesn't transact in a day. It takes time. So if you can expect that you're going to win, you guys will win. This is for Randall. Randall, how do you know when it's not a good time in the market, or it's really not a good property? In other words, when do you say no or just move on? You got your mic on your...
I have people that always say, oh, the market's down, and all the way through, 2008, 9, 10, oh, the market sucks, people are getting out of business. If you close every month, is it, guys, is it a good month?
Yeah.
Is the market good as long
Yes.
as it's closed? Agents, is there anybody out there that closes every month that doesn't think the market's great? I mean, that's the big thing. If you can close, it's always good. The cream always rises to the top. And if you close every month as an agent or as an investor, it's a great market. Now, I'll say no on a deal if it doesn't meet my parameters.
You have your parameters going in, Randall, like I told you earlier, I was a dyed-in-the-wool flipper for years, and then I just switched, and my mindset was rental. And I know I passed over some flip opportunities because it just wasn't in my area of interest. Do you have specific hard numbers for flips and specific hard numbers for rentals that you always adhere to?
Basically, for rentals, I'm just picking up seller finance. I'm interested in regular bank financing, so it's kind of a different deal. But yeah, for everything over $200,000, I'm looking for a minimum spread of $40 a square foot between my purchase price and my after remodel. price. That's a minimum, that's real minimal work. It's like a $20,000, maybe $30,000 rehab. If you're up in Canyon Rim, Mount Olympus, Harbor Dale, east of 9th East and between 9th and 17th South, I'm looking for about $60 a foot.
Okay.
And you'll find it. I found I got done a bunch of $80 and $90 a foot.
Does anybody else want to comment on how you know if it's a good time, when to just move on?
This kind of fits with the last one too. I was thinking when the mic got in. It's a numbers game. That's all this is. So Justin knocks doors. I mean, he just knocks more doors. Can you get a deal knocking doors? Yeah, you know. Is it going to come in 2 or 3? Maybe. Might come in 50. Keep going. Mail, same thing. You got a low response rate, you can stop. It's a numbers game.
I think Warren Buffett, I think it's him, that said when there's blood in the streets, that's the time to buy. And it's pretty much true to form when the news and the media start saying, hey, the market's moving, you can kind of go opposite to what the media is saying. If you've got a foot on the pulse of this market, you knew it started to pick up 2 years ago. You know, I don't know why 6 months ago the media finally keyed in on it, but if you're working in this every day, you knew 2 years ago when the winter never slowed down. It was just busy, busy, busy.
I always watch builder starts too. Did you notice that the builders have doubled their production? Builders are stupid. And they have the worst timing indicator ever. So by the time they figure it out, you guys better get on
The
it.
ride's over.
Yeah, they're stupid. Sorry, they stop. You would think they'd be smart with all the money that they comment, John?
I'd like to comment on that. For everyone here, just listen to all the examples that Randy had, that everyone here on the panels and the other people have. You need to realize that you make your money when you buy the property. I learned this from a used car dealer in the 70s. And he said, I make my money when I buy the car, because if I pay too much money for the car and put it on the lot, I have to find a greater fool to take it off my hands so I can break even. And so you always do your homework. Don't fall in love with the property that you see. Look at the numbers. It's a business deal. And with the examples that Randall and others gave, they got into the properties cheap enough so that they could even, like in Randall's case, he could even give the lady a $25,000 concession and still make $40,000 on the deal himself because he bought it cheap enough. And so when you buy a property, always, that's when you make your money. Don't pay too much for it or market price and expect to make a profit on it, or find someone that's willing to pay more for it.
That's probably one of the wisest things that you'll ever hear. I mean, if you focus on that, is you make your money when you purchase. When the market, you remember when the market tanked and it was like all of a sudden everybody was going out of business, the lenders were, you're going to closing and you had your loan approved for your buyer. You show up in the morning and the bank had folded. You know, it happened a lot. I was holding on to 5 properties when that happened. I had everything between $100,000 and $600,000. I didn't lose money on any of them. I made money on every one of them.
You had to get up and check the internet to see if your bank's one of the new failed banks on the list that day. That was pretty crazy. Oh, it was crazy. All right, this is for everybody. How can a newbie do their first deal? It's kind of a broad question, but who wants to be the first one to take a whack at that, Pinata?
Do something. No, I mean, dead serious. I'm going to give Tim Fenton as an example. 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, he would just sit and was a super introverted personality. Maybe he's a little more extroverted now. But he's on, same Tim Fenton, yeah. But he would just sit and soak up information, and then he finally made the jump and did transactions and got more transactions and more transactions, and he even put a house under contract with a piece of paper. So he progressed, right? So a lot of newbies will come to this once or twice, and I feel real estate investing is a marathon. Great example, John's been investing since 1978. Ironically, that's the year I was born. Hypothetically, if you kept all of your rentals that you still had, imagine what your net worth would be now, versus you always liquidate inventory for certain reasons. So, like, do something. So, something means going to the seminar, joining the club, piggybacking some mentors, paying for people to coach you. Do something different, because a lot of people, invest $40,000 to $80,000 for a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and they don't even make six-figure incomes ever, where literally in 1 year, you can make $100,000 in real estate investing plus if you're willing to work and pay the price. So my comment is you need to do something.
John, same question.
If you're interested in buy and hold, I recommend follow my path, and both of my sons did that. We bought a duplex, moved into one side. You can get up to a fourplex, you talk to Matt, you get up to a fourplex and get owner-occupied financing. 3% down on the fourplex, 3.5% down on the fourplex. You live in one unit and rent out the other three, in my case, and both of my sons too.
They'll feed you cookies.
They feed me cookies, and the landlord lived right on site. And my oldest son rented to some of his friends, and that didn't work out. They thought, well, you won't kick out your friends, you know. But he did get cookies. But the rent of the other units covered. My youngest son, my second son, bought a triplex and lived in one unit, and the other two units covered his mortgage payment. So he paid for the maintenance and the water bill. And my oldest son bought a duplex when he was going to Brigham Young University. He bought a duplex, lived in the smaller side, which was him and his wife, and they rented out a larger side. And the larger side, the rent paid for the whole thing, so he was living for free while in college, and he couldn't have it better than both of them. Ended up owning multiple properties after that. Even my daughter has rental properties now. She moved into one property, got an owner-occupied loan, stayed there for whatever the required period was, 1 or 2 years, 1 year, and then she went and bought a short sale condominium just a couple of months ago, 3 bedrooms, 100,000. It's only 12 years old. I mean, she knows how to look for deals. The real estate agent really got tired of her. And she wanted to, she knew I made money when I buy the deal. The one next door is for sale now, 3 months later, 130,000. But if you're looking for your first deal for buy and hold, buy a multi-unit property and talk to Matt about getting owner-occupied financing.
And guess what? A lot of these HUD properties, you can't buy them as an investor, but you get a shot at them if you're going to live in it. So look for that.
So I would second what he says, number one, do something, because that's stumbling in any direction, you're gonna find something. But second to that is, anything you want to do in life, look to the person that is where you want to be, and go learn from them if you can. You can't teach someone something you don't know. So find somebody who is where you want to be, and go to them and do whatever you got to do to get them to show you how to do that. That's just the truism of life, anything you want. So I'm constantly looking at people who are where I want to be. So some people look and say, I want to do one deal. Well, Matt does a lot of deals. A lot of people do a lot of deals. Just look to somebody that is where you want to be and go from there.
I would say 2 things. First off, investing is a huge mental game. You've got to plow the field in your mind first, and you've got to really engineer it and strategize and make it happen mentally before you go and put it to paper and buy it and move forward with construction. The other thing is get a mentor. Sometimes my mentor might be an author, or it might be somebody in this room. Maybe they don't even know they're my mentor, but you need to get somebody, and you need to ask for them to mentor you. Here's the thing that can be somewhat annoying to some people, is that when somebody wants to be mentored, it's only about them. Well, why don't you give back? Volunteer your time, do some things, some tasks that they need done, and they will break their back to help you succeed.
That's a really good point. I agree with Matt. Do something. Everything works as long as you do. Everything works as long as you do. It really doesn't matter. Just pick something and move towards it, and set a goal. Like Justin said, get a mentor, whether it's somebody that knows that they're your mentor or not. I have a coach, and I talk to her every Friday. I email her every day. It keeps me on track, because, like Justin said, if I sit at home, I get too comfortable. I don't think I put my pants on until about 1 o'clock today. You're just there, and it's all fine because money's coming in. But when I go to the office, you're there surrounded by other people that are motivated, that are doing the same kind of things that you do, and you probably network with. I made probably gross, 500 grand this year just off of networking out in the office. People that bring me deals.
Awesome. This helpful, everybody? If you ask more questions, you'll get more answers. So every once in a while, I'm going to ask you guys to raise up those cards if you have another question. If you want another card, raise your hand. We'll give you another shot at another question. Sure.
2 comments what made me think of this. Today I actually met, who knows what my goals are for mortgage transactions this year? 196 mortgage transactions. That's my goal. So write this down. Your goals should be better than your best, but attainable. And if you don't write this down, you should be teaching this. Your goals should be better than your best, but attainable. So the reason why I shared that real quick is we talked about mentors. I have a mortgage mentor. I offered to pay that mentor $1,000 for 1 hour of their time because I was stuck. And I was like, here's $1,000. I'm stuck on this scenario for an hour. After chatting with that mentor, they are just happy that I value their time that much and they didn't want to accept anything. After done speaking with them, I always ask the question, what can I do for you? Write that question down. What can I do for you? There's people where I call them brain suckers. And those people I feel just consume all your information and then they leave you to dry. But if you ask, what can I do for you? Then they'll share. The reason why I said that at the end, the individual told me how they have not as much retirement as they want. And they want to retire at 70 and in their 60s. And I said, oh my gosh, do I have some ideas for you? So I'm going to chat with her and her husband and all their kids about how they can build up a real estate portfolio so they can actually retire. And she kind of started crying at the end and gave me a hug and I felt like it was like my mom. But what's really cool with that is I was asking to compensate for her time, and she's clearing her schedule next week so I can take the time to help them out too, because you never know how you can help each other out. Does that make sense? So it's all just a matter of time and just be grateful. So invest in your mentor and then always ask, what can I do for you? So that was my suggestion.
Yeah, I'll pick on Josh here for a minute. Raise your hand, Josh. Josh is manager at a restaurant, Corner Bakery. You guys like Corner Bakery? This is great. It's up by the university. And he's been coming. He's been coming. I teach a free class. I teach free classes once a month. And Josh has been coming to these free classes. And ever since the first day he came, he loads us up with food. Anybody been to my class and been able to eat his food? It's awesome. How much did you pay for that food? You guys paid nothing because Josh brought all that food, right? From the very first day, Josh has been asking, what can I do to help you out? And it will trip you out, like Matt says. As soon as somebody starts asking you that, first it kind of makes you numb. You're not sure how to answer that question. You're like, I don't know, maybe nothing, I don't know. Quit asking me, right? But pretty soon, it starts to become like, everybody in my office is addicted to his brownie bites. Like Emily loves the brownie bites and the cookies and everything. But it's true, Josh has been able to leverage what he has. And so now we trade. I give him time outside of the free classes. And he gives me, his wife does vinyl stickers. He's cut stickers for my office, for my windows, and for my cars. It's really cool. He's used what he has, right, to get what he needs, to get what he wants. So please, there's skills that you have that maybe aren't related to real estate. You can trade and barter with any of these guys up here. There's a weakness that one or more of them have, or a need that's not being filled. I would be honest and ask them that. Here's a landlord question.
You can call me anytime.
I've got a question too. What is that? What is that?
Drink for Andy.
Yes!
Oh, drink for Andy.
Are you serious? For me right now?
Look at that. Look at Luke stepping it up.
Wait, what can I do?
See, it's in practice right here. So for the landlords, when you run a credit background check, what is it that you'll turn people down for and why?
Trevor, pay attention. There are rules now, state laws, that you have to post your criteria and so on. I'm a little less formal, I'll probably get in trouble for sharing this, but
Make it up. Less formal. Doesn't want to get in trouble.
necessarily look for a certain credit score. What I look for is a pattern. I get people that have had bankruptcy or bad credit, and oftentimes it's because of one of two reasons. One is a divorce, or the second reason is medical bills that they got stuck with and were not able to pay. You can see on the credit report, I study the credit reports and really look at it, and you can see whether it's true or not, because all the bills will be kind of bunched up at one time. If it shows that they're consistently not paying the rent or been evicted, then I wouldn't rent to them. But if they had issues because of events that they have no control over, maybe I will still work with them. I charge low deposits because people, and this is part of my strategy, people are less concerned about how much they have to pay per month. They're more concerned about how much do I have to come up with right now. So I always advertise a lower deposit, like $500 if the rent is $1,200 a month. But then if the credit isn't all that good, then they say, well, I will still rent to you, but I've got to have a little higher deposit because I see it's risk. And people realize that I get higher deposits in a lot of cases because of that. Or I get one of the parents or such a cosign. Oftentimes people are willing to come up with a cosigner. I discuss these things in detail with people when they come and see the property. Either I talk to them on the phone, or as I walk them through the house, I have this discussion. I said, I'll do a background check. Anything that might come up that you want to share with me. And most people are pretty honest. If they aren't, and things show up that they haven't shared with me that they should have been aware of, and that's a red flag again. And I have caution with people. I also do a criminal background check, and I won't rent to people that have felonies or a severe criminal background, because I'm also friends not only with my tenants but also the neighbors. All the neighbors around my properties have my phone number. If there's something going on with the tenants, like they move out in the middle of the night, or so the neighbors will call me, or there's trash piled up in the driveway. I had a neighbor text me a picture of trash just piled up in front of the garage. And as it turned out, my tenants were out of town for a week, and then some of their friends had dropped off some furniture for them. It looked trashy, but it wasn't. It was just filing cabinets. But I had one tenant, I remember, and I've shared this in my seminar that I do for the club, people came and applied to rent the house. Really nice young couple, papa, mama, and 2 children, and they were really nice. They both had good jobs, and I said, I do a credit background, and they explained their credit to me. And I said, I also do a criminal background. They said, oh no, we're clean, no problem whatsoever. Well, here I do the report comes back from Western Reporting, which is what I use, and it shows assault with a deadly weapon like 3 months ago. So I called the guy and he said, what's that? And he said, well, I had called my landlord that I was going to be late on the rent, and the guy still shows up at my house at 8 o'clock at night trying to collect the rent, so I pulled my gun on him. So I didn't rent to him.
Landlords, guys, what do you deny for when you have criteria?
Like he said, I have a rental criteria, and I tell them if they're interested in renting, why don't I've got some helps with this. They say, read the rental criteria. And if you read that rental criteria, you still would like to apply, then you can apply. And then when they apply, you've got a set of guidelines you can disqualify them for or adjust and negotiate off of that.
I ask them one thing, which is, I don't always pull credit background, but before I do, I say, hey, might as well just tell me what's negative on your history and on your credit, because if you don't tell me, I'm going to find out anyway. Then they start spilling beans, and then I kind of make the determination. But I also get, Matt taught me, I always get pay stubs with my applications, and I'm not really crazy about sex offenders, so I don't rent to that. And
You're out, man.
and if they have, I'm not scared about medical, bankruptcy, late payments on certain things, but if they have certain collections like Comcast, Questar, Rocky Mountain Power, for me, that's a bad sign, because if you can't pay your utilities, you can't even get them turned on. So I don't rent to that recent collections like that.
I agree with Justin. No to sex offenders. No to drug offenders. Pretty much, it's like being an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. So if somebody comes and says they got busted, knocked down to a misdemeanor for meth possession or whatever else, I really scrutinize them hard to make sure that they look like they're clean. And I'm kind of like Justin, yeah, we pull criminal, we pull the credit, but I go off the gut feeling more than anything. And the people that I was worried about with the gut feeling were the ones that gave me problems. Everybody that felt good was always a good runner.
What about smoking?
Do you smoke? That's okay. So first of all, I have Trevor manages our rental properties. He's done an amazing job. I think we've had probably 3 evictions in 10 months out of 50 properties, and only 2 people have moved out. So that's a great turnover. I allow people to smoke. They can only smoke outside. We charge them $200 extra. It's totally refundable if the house doesn't smell like smoke. But if it smells like smoke, that's terms for eviction. Here's one cool thing. There's 5 people in here who went to the Peter Fortunato seminar. So everyone write this down. We charge now a rent block fee, no deposits. Peter Fortunato's freaking sick, okay? A rent block fee. So they pay the fee up front. It's not refundable. There's not a deposit. So on all of our new properties this year, if we're turning them over, if we have 50 doors and our rent block fee's $800, how much did we just increase revenue? If there's 50 doors,
4,000.
50 doors, $800 rent block fee, how much revenue did we make this year? $40,000. Was that worth going to a $1,000 seminar?
Matt, what's a rent block?
A rent lock fee, it locks in the rental rate that you can't increase it in 24 months. It's really common in Florida. So we ran it by our eviction attorney, and he said that's okay, so we just modified our rental agreement. So consult your attorney. That should help a lot of you guys out. Say that again? Pet rent. Okay, yes. So there's a lot of cool investors, mentors that you can learn, that you can just get these nuggets and just increase your net worth. But what I wanted to share, having a lending background real quick, we qualify tenants based on qualifying for a mortgage. I want to know that they can make their payments, so I literally get their pay stubs. So if you want to get the last 30 days of pay stubs, if they're a wage earner, I care that they've been in their job for the last 12 to 24 months. I understand different trades get laid off, like construction workers have furloughs in the wintertime, things like that. I also care if they're self-employed, I get their 1040s for the last 2 years. And the reason why I get their tax returns or their full tax returns is at least if they have a lot of gross sales, I know that people can manipulate and expense a lot, that's what we do. But I can see if they have a lot of gross sales and if they have cash in the bank, I'm okay with that. So I would require tax returns for the last 2 years, and then we check their pay stubs, and as long as the rental amount is about 50% of their net income or less, I'm comfortable with that.
Matt, we'll follow up on the rent block.
Sure.
You don't do any deposits at all?
Nope, not anymore. No more deposits.
It's worked out really well. When you take a deposit, people will move out on you in the middle of the night and say, oh, I'll just keep my deposit as my last month's rent. And it sucks. So I haven't taken deposits in a long time either. And I charge more rent. And they actually, it's not as bad as you think it is. Everyone's like, I'll never do that. They move into your building faster because they have less up front to come up with, which, as John said, is what they're really concerned with. My comment on qualifying tenants, I ask one question before I even hand them an application. Do you consider not paying rent the same as stealing? They say, no. I said, then you don't get an application. They have to think not paying their rent is stealing from me, or I don't want them as a tenant. I don't care how good they are. Matt can have taxes and everything else. As soon as their life turns hard, the first person they don't pay is me. And I don't want you in that building. And then do an in-home interview. Go look at where they live now, Dave. If they treat their current place like garbage, you're in for a garbage collector yourself. So that's my 2 cents on that. Here's a pretty technical question. What are the pros and cons, it's directed to John, of having multiple unrelated adults on the same lease agreement? Problems with late payments and utilities is what they're basically saying.
I've had all kinds of issues with roommates, and I prefer not to rent to roommates anymore because one moves out, or because they're not related, they don't know each other very well. I have a big house in Sandy, 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, big jacuzzi tub, rents out for about $1,800 a month. And there were 4 guys living. They had a room for an additional roommate, so they rented to a lady that one of them knew. And a couple of months later, the lady calls me and said, these guys took the door off my bedroom and hid it downstairs in the basement, and locked the basement. I said, I can't do anything about it. Everybody is on the lease, and it's between you guys. I had a lady call me a couple months ago and said I moved in my friend, and she's making a mess, and she brought in a cat and everything else. Can you evict her? I said, well, all of you guys are on the lease now, because she had the other lady, she qualified, and I put it on the lease. I can't do anything about it. I can evict everybody for having a cat, but I can't just evict one person. And so yeah, I've had a lot of problems with unrelated to people living in the house. Also, the cities and the municipalities have ordinances that you can only have a certain number of unrelated people living in the house. You have to be careful with that as well.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Unrelated tenants, roommates?
You'll make more money, you'll have more headaches.
Okay.
Make more money, you'll have more headaches. That's a very simple way to put it. So I guess what I'm taking out of that is, and I've had that situation too, is you're either all in the pool or you're all out of the pool. If you guys can't play nice in the pool, everyone's out. All right, here's another landlord question. I try to group these together so we get a little bit of variety. To any and all who rent, this is from Helen. What are the most effective ways to find good renters quickly? And how do you price the rent correctly to attract renters and keep those renters in your properties?
What was the first part of the question?
What are the most effective ways to find good renters quickly?
Spread the word. Even as soon as I get a notice from a tenant, I make arrangements with the tenants, that I'll work with them and give them the deposit back if they leave it nice and clean. If they're willing to show the property for me, I will put my sign and my phone number in the ads and on all the signs and so on, and I will pre-qualify people, and then I'll have them, if they pre-qualify, go past my screen, then I'll have them make an appointment with the current tenant to show the house, and that's how I've been able to get people to move in the day after the other tenants move out. You have to spread the word. Put ads on Craigslist and KSL, that's the most effective I find in terms of advertising. And on both of them, you always have to renew your ad every day, because people that look, there are like, thousands of homes for rent and apartments on both of those websites, and people don't look past, 2 or 3 pages, because they start calling when they see something. And if your ad drops to the 5th or the 6th page, nobody will see it anymore. I've had people, landlords that told me, I've had my rental on KSL now for 2 weeks and nobody calls me. Well, they didn't renew their ad. So in KSL, you have to have a couple of email addresses, different accounts, and post it on each account and drop it from the others, because otherwise they realize you have a duplicate, and they scan for that. On Craigslist now, if you have an ad on, the next day you can post the same ad, then the day after, the ad that's 2 days old, you say, delete the ad. You go through the delete process, and all of a sudden, after about step 3 or so, you'll get a message that says, do you want to repost that ad? And if you repost it, click on repost, it keeps the pictures and everything, and it goes right back to the top. And you can do that twice a day if you want to, but that's how Craigslist now works. In terms of the neighborhood, I get most of my tenants that move in, they want to live in that particular neighborhood because they have friends there, they have babysitters there, or they have a family that lives right near there. So put out signs, not just on the street in front of your property, but also directional signs on the major streets nearby there, and put something on that's like 4 bedrooms for rents available, the date, whatever, so people have some information. I print flyers on the back of my applications, and I have one of these information boxes on my sign that's on the property with the applications and the flyer with the information right on the back of it. When the market was really bad and high vacancy rate, I bought banners and flags like you see at store openings and balloons and things like that, just to attract people, because there were so many properties for rent, so I had to differentiate myself. And then spread the word. I had 3 people call me in the last 6 weeks, 3 of my tenants, that said, do you know anybody? I've got a friend that wants a place. So when I have something for rent, I call all of my tenants that I think might know somebody that might want to live in that neighborhood and let them know, because they'll give me a good referral. And what was the second part?
The second part of that question is, how do you price your rent correctly to keep good renters?
Okay, I do a market survey. When I have a unit for rent, I drive around myself. I check KSL with that zip code and see what comparables are available, what people are asking for. I even call some of them and say, oh, you have the property for rent, to see if it's similar to mine or if it's remodeled or not. So I kind of know where the market goes, and I price mine a little bit higher, and I price my deposits lower, and I oftentimes rent mine out for a little bit more money, $25 to $50 higher than the comparables. But because I have a lower deposit, they move in quicker. Because any rent, if you rent out your property 2 weeks sooner, that's for $1,200 property, $600 that you get to keep. Well, I do charge deposits, and I have a reason for that. I end up giving most of my deposits back because my tenants don't skip out and they clean the units, because I screen them up front.
Anybody else got ways to find tenants quickly?
Who heard of Jeffrey Taylor, Mr. Landlord, about 3 years ago? It was unbelievable. So here's what he taught me. At the time I had about 23, 24 rental properties. And after hearing him talk just for 45 minutes, I invested in this package. I would have paid $5,000 based on what I learned at that time. But 3 things I do. One is when we know we have a vacancy, we send letters, renewal letters, 60 days in advance. So it gives plenty of notice for our tenants to either renew, move out, or go month to month. And if they go month to month, we charge them $100 more, and we have that up front. So, and then with that, we also provide a lease after they apply, and that's why we have such low turnover. But what's nice is the reason why we want people to move out is because they're buying a home, they can't afford the home, or they just have to relocate for work. So what's nice is those people, like John mentioned, they want to get their deposits back. So if they work with us and allow us to show the properties 30 days before, we normally have our goals have a 3-day turnover. So literally the tenant moves out, we go and clean it, fix it up, do whatever, and 3 days later that tenant's moving in. Some of you who've met with me before and I don't do this as often anymore, but drive arounds on Saturday is just due to time. I have some rental rows, like I literally own like 4 houses on one street and 3 houses on one street. I had 2 vacancies in the other comment, 2 vacancies at one time. They just said they had to move out because they couldn't afford it, which I totally can appreciate. I told them if I could show the properties before they moved out, I would give them the whole deposit and give them a good reference. At the time, when we do rental, when we show properties, Trevor does a great job with this, our goal is to have 5 tenants show up at the house at the same time, and we only show the property twice a week. So for example, if you did like a Tuesday from 5 to 5:30, what's good is if you have 5 people show up, it creates competition, right? And then they're like, oh my gosh, why are there other people here? And then if they sign the application fee right there, we waive or if they sign the rental app, then we don't charge them a fee because it's worth it. And then what's really nice with that is on this example where I had 2 tenants move out the same month on the same street, is I had 2 Section 8 tenants. One paid $1,250, the other one was $1,150. We showed them one house first, then 30 minutes later, one's kind of like, we like this house. So the other tenant came, they're like, well, we like this other house better. So we had them sign the applications, they both live there, we cash flow $500 on this property, and it's awesome. So building the system helps screen the tenants in as much notice as possible, and it's a great compliment when a tenant says, hey, do you have another rental? We like working with you. So that's a good relationship that we try to do.
Just curious, as landlords, do you guys refer tenants over when you have a good tenant and you don't have a vacancy? By show of hands, how many of you guys will cross-market with other landlords?
I do. We've got tenants upgrade and downgrade based on if their families grow or if they need an economical place too.
That's always a good thing to do. You talk to other investors when you're here, ask them. A lot of times they'll say, what can I do for you? they'll say, man, I've got this vacancy. Like right now, Todd's got a vacancy. He's got a great house. Raise your hand, Todd. Got a great house in Sandy. He's willing to do seller financing on it, willing to give some rent credit toward future purchase. Great neighborhood, great school. So really doing my best to try to help Todd out because it'll make a difference for you guys, right? So if anybody knows a tenant looking for a place in Sandy, talk to Todd or me. I'll help you guys out. Justin, this one's addressed to you. This one's it's $2,300, but you're getting $300 a month towards your future purchase price. So a little bit different, probably good for a student that just graduated and has got student loans, but it's got good income.
That's good enough people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got two kitchens. It's got a full finished basement. It's crazy. Do we? No, I'm just helping him out. He asked me.
It sounds really good. It's the first one. Right.
No, I just make sure Todd stays in the game. I don't want Todd to get voted off real estate island. This one's to Justin. Justin, I'm looking to be a flipper. Would you say is the best place for me to start?
I prefer, it's my feeling that you should own a rental before you flip.
Amen.
There's a lot of cost structures, there's a fine line between over-improving and under-improving a property and thinking, oh, I would do this if I lived here. Well, you don't live there, and it's just a different game. And so, you know, you need to really, if it's something you're going to plunge into, you need to research your competition, you need to see how other people are doing it. You probably need to be very, what's the right word, very diligent in your homework and making sure that you're very covered. Because especially if you're starting, you're probably using hard money. There's a lot of competition out there, so they're driving your profits down. You don't have a lot of room, just make sure you're estimating correctly.
So how would you do that?
I'd get around first.
And that's his answer, that's good. Anybody else want to pitch in? I want to be a flipper out there. What's the best way to start? Why should I flip this house?
I bootstrapped it, and, you know, I didn't do it with anybody else, but I partnered with somebody that knew what they're doing. You know, if somebody's got, 10 flips behind them they made money on, the past is the best indicator of the future, so I would probably partner with somebody. And that might mean that you come up with the money or do something, or maybe you only get 10% of the deal. It really doesn't matter, but you're going to see what's going on there.
I worked at a title company for free. They thought I was nuts. I took a title class with a bunch of escrow officers and title searchers, and they're like, why are you here? Because I want to learn. I learned to do short sales by going and knocking doors with somebody that knew how to do short sales. All of that was for free. So I would go find somebody like Justin, Randall, anybody that's doing flips and say, can I come work for you on this for free? Can I run to Home Depot and back? What can I do for you for free? You're learning a lot, right? So it's not free. You're going to get more than you 10, 20, $100 an hour. So.
You're nuts to go to a title class, that's boring.
Believe it or not, I teach a title class, and I usually save people anywhere from $100 to $600 by going over their old HUDs from properties. And you'd be amazed how many times they don't credit your earnest money, or they charge you for stuff like messengers that they never used. And if you go back, title company has that money, but they're not going to give it to you unless you ask for it. So, yeah, it's crazy. There's lots of money in those. So it's not real glamorous, but you know, title insurance exists for a reason, and there's money in that business. And just because an escrow officer puts an entry in, for those in escrow and title, they're human. The machines are run by humans, and sometimes they make an error. Sometimes it's in your favor, sometimes it's against you. So, hey, look at that, airmail. I got airmail.
It's for who? It's for Todd? Okay.
Yeah, Todd, here's a logo for you.
It's not.
Todd is not single.
Read it to the class. What does it say? I'm just kidding. I'm interested in your Sandy product. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, no, I mean.
That code, yes. Check the box. That code.
Put your pants on, don't be like men. That was a great comment, I'm sorry. It was the last time he was here on the panel, he was in a Santa suit. So this is an upgrade, if you remember.
You know, the fun thing is, so I always put the shirt on because we do a lot of video conferencing.
Right? So like an anchor man, you
Yeah,
know?
sitting there in my underwear looking, you know, like I've been up and working all day long.
Okay, this is for the entire panel. What makes the Salt Lake City area special? Can you identify any other cities within a 500-mile radius that are attractive for investments? So what makes the Salt Lake City area special for you guys as investors?
500-mile radius, are there other cities within 500?
There aren't any.
that look good?
I like, this is my personal opinion, I like investing within a 30-minute drive. So I can meet the contractors, figure out non-compliance issues, meet with the red sticker county guy who I talked to today. The reason why I like Salt Lake more is our economy didn't go down as much as nationally. Being a national lender, I've actually closed probably about 500 mortgages and all throughout the United States from 2001 until 2008. And I chose to discontinue that because I was busy enough here in Utah. So the reason sharing that is helping investors write loans from 03 to 07. Everyone has heard of Nouveau Riechers. So they used to teach seminars here, and I would fulfill their mortgages all throughout the country. And the stuff they taught, I was like, what the are you guys talking about? But at the end of the day, I was going to help them write their loan because they need to get a loan. So in sharing that, though, is they bought in properties that literally you negatively cash flow $800 to $1,000 a month, and they just rode the equity, and they made good money for about 1 to 2 years, depending on the market, and then they crashed and burned. Where I liked in Utah is we didn't see as big an appreciation. We hit our peak in 07, and then we hit our bottom in 011. But what's nice is we just didn't see as big a corrections. So I like local because I can touch it, feel it, sniff it, do everything, and it's really good. So the reason I don't like Vegas is because their market is very cyclical based on disposable income for travel. And probably 30 to 40% of their work is all based on the casinos. And when people don't travel and have extra money, they don't have jobs. So I wrote a lot of loans in Nevada from 03 to 07. And because of that, I don't love that market. Arizona I like a little bit more just because there's baby boomers and it'll grow, but I just love Salt Lake.
From a landlord's perspective, I agree with Matt. Keep your property within a reasonable driving distance. I now live in Sandy, and my first north property is in Clearfield. I have one lake in Clearfield. I go there on Fridays because one of my tenants is home. And when I do stuff there, I go to both of them, do things unless there's an emergency. But I know plenty of people that bought properties in like Kansas City, Missouri. You can buy houses for like $8,000, $9,000. My son lived in Memphis for a while, and he drove me to a part of town where they had houses for sale for like $12,000, but you wouldn't want to go there and collect the rent because it was just gangs at the beginning of the subdivision, gangs on the other side. You could not go in there to collect the rents, and the same. So I've had plenty of experience with people, not myself, with other people, that got burned buying really good deals out of state. So keep your properties close.
The number one reason is I live here. I almost moved to Georgia, and raise your hands if you think when I moved to Georgia I was going to get a job at Pizza Hut. So the stuff that we all know here was all taken away from us. We moved to any part of the country, Hawaii, California. Whereas, if you ask the people, how's investing like in California? You say, oh, it's awful, it's horrible. I think if he moves to Utah, he's going to say something different. How are the people in California? That's the same answer that they're going to have. How are the people in Utah? So it's great here. Dense population. We got a million households here. Within an hour driving range for us. Great economy. But other than that, mostly I live here. I don't want to go to Ohio.
A lot of families too, they're not moving out of state, so the growth is large.
I'd probably equate this, if you look at the foreclosure auctions in Salt Lake County, it's just, there's more population here, there's more opportunity, there's more houses than probably, I don't know for sure, probably any other county in Utah. So, you go down to Salt Lake County auction, there's probably the same 8 to 10 guys that have been there for years and years and years, and there's just more competition. If you're trying to do that, you're going to have a little bit more success going a little bit south to Utah County or even Davis, and probably Weber. There's less houses in Davis considerably. So, I preference, I would really won't drive more than an hour and a half for any deal, probably closer to an hour, just because time's money and I just can't hit the properties. So you've got to manage it. And I consult with people that, in fact, 3 weeks ago I was in the Bay Area. There's a company that has $50 million and they're staying out of the bigger cities because they're too competitive, so they're hitting some of the mid-major markets just because there's more opportunity for them to go and dominate. So if you're worried about competition, it doesn't matter. If you move to Georgia or Detroit, there's no doubt Andy will be successful, or no doubt you can. So don't be scared that somebody says you can't do it or that it's too competitive, because you can. You can carve your own niche, you can make it happen, you just have to know the bid price.
Utah's an awesome market. It's an awesome market for a number of reasons. One is the LDS Church is probably the biggest driver of the real estate market in Utah. It has been and probably will continue to be for the next 20 years. And the reason is that we have the highest birth rate in the nation, almost 3 times the next closest state. The median age in Utah is 28. The median age in Salt Lake County is 26. And the median age in Utah County is 22. So we have a very young state. We have a lot of people that are having a lot of babies. Like you guys mentioned, people don't want to leave Utah. I always think they're morons. You know, they lose their job and they don't want to go anywhere else. Utah's okay. I'm not from here. You know, I'd rather live in Costa Rica. But this is a great place to make a living at, and it's good. I mean, there's a lot driving this market, but it's babies, and that's what it is. It's all about babies. If you look at Salt Lake, you're bounded on the east by the mountains, you're bounded on the west by the mountains. It's a finite amount of places. I'm 50. I came here in '88. There was a ton of open space, open land here, you know, back in '88. You know, Kimball Junction didn't exist, you know, in '88. And it's just going to get worse and keep going, which drives the prices up.
Better.
Yeah. Better.
Have you guys seen Yoshi's map? We're a megalopolis, right?
Yes.
So we're pushing north. We're pushing north because there's land north. And when they run out of land, they can't make any more, right? This question says, who is one mentor that teaches material right now that each of you still learn from and would recommend to the group?
Tom Hopkins. So the reason why I've invested the most in myself in sales coaching. So if you can learn how to knock on doors, answer a phone call, meet someone at the club, deal with upset tenants, Tom Hopkins is my most influential mentor, bar none, is himself, because he's a sales coach. One comment I was going to make with that is, a lot of times we think, oh man, we can't afford this seminar, we can't afford this class. You can afford anything you choose to put your money to, right? You can find a way. 5 years ago, Tom Hopkins, Justin has been to this seminar before, there's probably 5 other people in here. Well, I wanted to share this. He offered an intimate one-on-one boot camp with him and whoever shows up for 4 days, and it was $10,000. I could totally have afforded it. He only had 10 people show up. You think if I would have gone, I would have an intimate relationship with him and probably call him on a cell phone and he'd pick up the phone? The reason why I'm bringing this up is I chose not to because I couldn't afford it. I could flip half a house and pay for it. Thinking about that now, he doesn't coach anymore. So I think about that literally once a month, that I could have gone to that boot camp, been very intimate. Since then I've been to his house, but I'm just sharing for myself is don't let money be a reason why you don't do something. You can choose to make the opportunity if you'd like. So that's the most influential person for me.
Not necessarily coaches, but I like Tony Robbins stuff. I like Brian Tracy. I love his stuff. One of the things Brian Tracy says is, I think it's 3% of your annual income. Invest 3% of your annual income in yourself, I believe. Is that it? Anybody confirm that? But I think he recommends 3%. So if you make $100,000, put $3,000 not next to your books or whatever, keep doing that as your income increases, and you can afford that $10,000 or whatever, or more. But Barry's probably with real estate.
I don't like him, he's effective.
I'm not an agent, so don't listen to me.
Yeah, I was with Matt. We went and did Tom Hopkins. I think I went with boot camp 3 separate occasions. I mean, I'm not in lust with him as much as Matt is, but I really like him. He's super good, taught me a lot of skills. And the other one was a local investor. His name was Lee Arnold. He was my beginning mentor with real estate, and so I don't communicate too much with him these days, but he was super influential for me.
What those guys said. Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins.
What about yourself?
No, it's true. I mean, I look at it, Anthony Robbins is awesome. When I moved back to Utah in 2004, I was leaving the largest construction company 100 miles in central eastern Oregon. It was good. I was dabbling in real estate on the side. I came here, hadn't been here in 10 years at least, didn't know what the heck I was doing. It seemed like the market, everything had changed. But I got up every morning and shouted in the stairwell of the hotel, "I am not afraid, I expect success today." Until I felt it. I did it probably 10, 15 times every morning. And, that worked for me. And I did the Tony Robbins deal, where you're anchoring with positive thoughts and all those things. I'm not a fire walker yet, but anyway, that's what I'd say. I mean, most of it's in your head. It's the head games that do the most. You can learn real estate from anybody, but it's the Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, etc. that are going to do the most for you, in my opinion.
As far as mentors, I think there's 2 classifications as mentors. There's technical, technician type mentors, and then there's mindset. And you need a good mix of both. How many engineers do we have out there? A few engineers. You guys are a unique group of people. You won't make a move until you know exactly how that move is going to turn out. Am I right? You are going to be drawn to technical mentors, technicians. Okay. Technicians, I'd recommend Peter Fortunato, I'd recommend John Shaw. They're very technical people. They will give you tons and tons of material, tons of it. Written material, examples of material. If you're into timing, again, more specific to California, you get Bruce Norris. That guy is a master of stats and data. If you like stats and data, it's like you guys are going to be blown away by that. Mindset guys or sales guys, I like Ben Gay III. He wrote a book called Closers 2. That guy is a sales machine. He also wrote Resort and Secrets of Resort Sales, which is where that came from. So Ben Gay III, I agree, I've never been to Tom Hopkins, but I've seen enough of his stuff. So that's going to be mindset type of stuff. One thing that you do, Andy said he spent time at a title company learning title. One of the things I did is I went and got a job at a car dealership, learned how to sell used cars. You guys think that's funny? But those guys are some of the best closers on the planet. And they will teach you the skills to pay the bills. So if you want to get out of your comfort zone, go take a job at a car dealership and learn some sales. That's my 2 cents. This one's specifically for Andy. Andy, the Rep C that I've used for my realtor has a specific non-assignment clause. For wholesaling, does one use a different Rep C? Would you like to share an example, or do I just strike through that clause?
Yes. And you can strike through that clause, or you can use your own. I use a little 1-page thing. It's simple and it's cash. Because the 6-page Rep C is just confusing the people you go through. It's talking about, all this stuff, legalese, and I use a 1-page thing. But yeah, you can strike through that. You can make specifically the addendum. You can just say, this contract is assignable. If you want to, you can say, I plan on signing this contract. You want to be totally upfront.
Now, Randall, if you're an agent, can you do that?
Sure.
But all contracts are assignable by nature unless they say they're not. So they added that in there that it's not assignable, but any other contract they are assignable.
You can use, even an agent can use a 1-page contract.
I just knew there was some agent question.
It has to be blessed by their attorney. Now, if it's done, if you're the client and your attorney drew it up for you and it's blessed, you're good to go.
Okay. There's another one for any.
Any or any?
Any. It's kind of technical.
Technical, I imagine it's going to probably lean toward a lender. But I'm gonna ask it anyway, because we did say write any question down, right? So this person says they just, and I don't know who they are, so we'll have to guess. Just started a new LLC, would like to buy a property. I only know of putting the 20% down. If I have someone who is willing to lend me or my business the 20% cash for a long term, what would be the best way to structure that so I'm still eligible to get a commercial loan for the property? So we're delving into some commercial stuff. So got a new LLC, wants to buy a property. Looking to acquire, or apparently has somebody that wants to give them the 20% down. How do they structure that? I guess we're looking at a seasoning question here. How will they season that 20% down so that they can make this happen? Anybody got a thought on that?
Can I ask who asked that question? Are you wanting to buy a residential or commercial?
Commercial.
I'm not a commercial expert.
Commercial doesn't have anything to do with the seasoning or anything else. I mean, it's based on the property, and each bank has its own criteria. So, 20% down will get you into some commercial properties. Some will do it for 5, some are going to want 30, 40, 50. It just depends. We've wrapped, one of the guys in my team wrapped some rental units and some storage units out by the airport into a big. It works. It's just, as many lenders as there are out there, that's how many commercial setups there are.
And if it's not your money, I don't know if this is part of your question, but I would assume that the person whose money it is needs to be in the LLC and they need to be signing the documents too, or else it's going to be kind of a gift and uses in a way.
Are you asking about non-recourse?
Well, I'm asking, could a business get a loan and then that money be used for the down payments?
The business would need to be established at least 2 years to provide business tax returns.
You're going to have some good AGI concerns if you're not established. So it's more your loan ability if you're doing a takeout loan. If you're buying it with hard money, you're going to refinance. He's right, it's a title seasoning issue, but I'd say if you're going to go the conventional route with bank financing, you're probably going to need a larger down payment.
25.
So we've got lots of questions left, and we're running out of time. So what I had here, guys, and I'd like to ask your permission, we have a lot of people that put their name and email address on here. And so what I'd like to do is be able to email you guys all these questions. If you guys wouldn't mind, maybe we can get emails back to the people that asked the question, just so we're not keeping people later. Would that be okay for those of you that asked this question? I mean, it was a really good response. And I did my best to go as quickly as I could, but we've got an awful lot of questions left, and I don't want you to feel like we're not willing to answer your questions. I'll take a stab at them too, if it's okay with you guys. Yeah. Sir.
What if we posted the questions on the website with the answer for those that are members of the club? And then for those that are not members of the club, this is a good reason for only $100 a year investment. You can get access to a lot of information. Wouldn't you agree? And if you sign up today, you can get $25 off the $300 bus tour.
And Andy will give you a free ice cream. Yes.
So Randall, did you have something you wanted to address before we end? I'll do one more question and then you have an announcement there from Lisa. Don't you have? Okay. So let me try to, you guys have really good questions, by the way. I mean, you guys should give yourselves a hand for being really involved tonight with this. Honestly, it was really good. Yeah, it's really difficult. Again, guys, don't think it's not hard sitting in this seat trying to read these questions out. Okay. Okay, this would be a good one to close out because it seems to be a theme with everybody. What has been your most successful marketing strategy this year? So since January of this year, you say was the one thing you've done that's yielded the most success in marketing. We'll go right down the line.
As a mortgage broker, I'm a member of BNI. So if you're self-employed, you should join BNI. It stands for Business Networking International. It's an unbelievable way for you to develop your own skills and then also work with referral partners. So that's the best way that's worked for me.
From a landlord's perspective, the best strategy is to, what I've done this year is to keep my tenants happy, reduce vacancy, maximize cash flow, and you do that by minimizing the turnover. And I haven't had any turnover this year yet. I keep everybody happy and work with them.
I do a lot of direct mail, so just rather than do the most returns you've asked, so I do a lot.
I echo B&I as well. It's really pushed me to network a little bit more, but I've also, this year, I've kind of dedicated myself to doing more direct and longer campaigns for marketing. I just think if you don't market, you're going to die. And this competitive market is probably evidence of that.
That's really smart, actually. They've done a lot of studies on direct mail, and it's after between the 4th and 6th letters is where you get your most success. Does that make sense? For me, I'd say networking with agents. This year, I made more money networking with agents than anything else.
Let's give a hand for the panel.
Thank you, guys. I mean, it's, and everybody here has experienced, everybody